On the news tonight, President Tinubu signs tax reform bills into law. Governor Adeleke urges people to pray for peace as Islamic New Year 1447 commences. Earth framework threatens Japan. Good evening and welcome to the major reports. I'm Oluwatoyin Yusuf. President Bola Tinubu has signed into law 4 tax reform bills aimed at overhauling Nigeria's fiscal and revenue systems. The Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, discussed this in a post on his X account stating that the 4 tax bills set to be signed are the Nigerian Tax Bill, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. The signing ceremony took place at the Presidential Villa in Abuja and was witnessed by top government officials, including the Senate President Godfrey Akpabio, Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas, Senate Majority Leader, House Majority Leader, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, and his counterpart in the House of Representatives. The Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, which will establish a uniform legal and operational framework for tax administration across the federal, state, and the local government levels, while the NRS expanded mandate, including non-tax revenue collection, and lays out transparency, accountability, and efficiency mechanisms. The 4th bill, however, provides for a formal governance structure to facilitate cooperation between revenue authorities at all levels of government. Meanwhile, the federal government has stated that Nigeria's evolving tax system is being designed to address the challenges faced by taxpayers while enhancing domestic revenue generation, particularly in the light of the country's ongoing economic reforms and diversification efforts. Minister of State for Finance, Dr. Doris Uzoka Anite, represented by the Director and the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Ndidi Chinelo, made this known Abuja at the tax roundtable themed Unlocking Revenue and Friendly Dispute Resolution, a roadmap to tax ADR in Nigeria. She noted that the country is building a more responsive tax administration framework that not only ensures efficient revenue mobilization, but also prioritizes fairness, taxpayer engagement, and efficient resolution of disputes. She warned that prolonged disputes could erode investor confidence and hinder the predictability required for stable fiscal planning. Also speaking at the event, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, represented by our Special Advisor to the President on Arbitration, Drafting and Resolution, Oloyede Hussein, said the government must expand its revenue base through taxation without resorting to coercive measures. On the other hand, President Bola Tinubu has declined to sign the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency Bill 2025 into law. Tinubu explained that the proposed law seeks to empower the NDLEA to retain a portion of the proceeds from drug-related crimes. A move he said contradicts existing financial regulations, citing Section 58, subsection 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. He noted that under the current system, all proceeds of crime are paid into the government's confiscated and forfeited properties account, while disbursements to any recovery agency, including the NDLEA, can only be made by the presidential approval, subject to the consent of the Federal Executive Council and the National Assembly. The president maintained that there is no compelling reason to alter a process designed to uphold accountability through executive and legislative oversight. The federal government has commenced the disbursement of consumer credit to some market women in Abia through the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation. Launching the disbursement today, the Managing Director of Credit Corporation, Mr. Uzoma Nwaba, said the scheme would enable citizens to access goods and services on credit. Report says the Credit Corps is a government-owned development finance institution committed to enhancing consumer credit access. Mr. Nwaba, represented by the Executive Director, Credit and Portfolio Management, Mrs. Aisha Abdullahi, said the aim is to boost the quality of life and financial inclusion. According to him, the initiative, which was unveiled by the federal government in April, offered Nigerians interest-free consumer credit of up to 2 million naira. He also announced that the institution is in partnership with a technology company to lend to market women across the country. Nwagba further explained that Credit Corp would not lend directly to individuals, but would support financial institutions that provide credit. The Supreme Court of Saudi Arabia has officially declared today the first day of Muharram, marking the start of the Islamic New Year 1447 Hijrah, after the crescent moon was sighted yesterday evening, the Hijjah 29th. The Supreme Court announced the decision after the crescent sighting committee verified credible testimonies confirming the moon sighting. The Saudi Arabia quoted the country statement, which included prayers for King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and a call for Muslim unity in the years ahead. Nigeria, the National Moon Sighting Committee, the official account of the National Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, also confirmed the date in a post on X, stating that the Sultan of Sokoto, Sa'ad Bakar, has also declared today the first Muharram 1447 Hijrah, the significant day of Ashura, which falls on the 10th of Muharram, will be observed on Saturday, the 5th of next month this year, significant for fasting and reflection among Muslims worldwide. In the meantime, Governor Adeleke has declared tomorrow public holiday in commemoration of Hijrah 1447. This is contained in a statement by the Commissioner for Home Affairs, Mr. Rashid Adeleke. While extending warm greetings to the Muslim faithful across the state, the governor urged residents to use the occasion to pray for sustained peace, progress, and prosperity in the state and the country at large. He also called on all citizens to celebrate the Islamic New Year in peace and harmony, encouraging the citizenry to shun rancor, acrimony, and embrace unity, which is described as the foundation for sustainable development. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has announced August 16th this year for the conduct of by-elections into vacant seats in the Senate, House of Representatives, and Houses of Assembly in 12 states. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who announced the date at a meeting with leaders of political parties at the Commission headquarters, said the by-election will involve about 3,553,659 registered voters. He, however, said the Commission will not conduct by-elections into Kana 2 state constituency in Rivers State as a result of the current state of emergency, and Talata Marafa South state constituency in Zamfara State, following a legal challenge to the declaration of the seat vacant by the State Assembly. Professor Yakubu said in the last 2 years since the inauguration of the National and State Assemblies in June 2023, vacancies requiring by-elections have occurred nationwide. You recall that in February last year, the Commission conducted 9 by-elections to fill vacancies resulting from the death or resignation of members of the National and State Houses of Assembly. And still on INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission has said it received letters of intent from 110 associations seeking registration as political parties. Speaking during a consultative meeting with media executives in Abuja, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu stated that as of June 23, the Commission had received 110 letters and was diligently processing them in accordance with electoral laws and guidelines. He, however, flagged clashing names and irregularities in the registration request by most of the associations. The list of the parties, including proposed names, acronyms, addresses, and names of their pro tem chairmen and secretaries, were published on INEC's website and social media platforms. One of the proposed parties, the All Democratic Alliance, is reportedly supported by a coalition of prominent political figures, including the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, and former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi. INEC noted that some of the proposed associations use identical acronyms, which violates the Commission's guidelines. Stakeholders of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria in Nasarawa and Benue states have called on its members to, as a matter of urgency, settle all ongoing disputes with farmers in both states, in line with President Bola Tinubu's efforts to restore normalcy in the region. The national president of Miyetti Allah, Baba Njezama, made a call in Nasarawa State during a meeting with stakeholders and members of the association from both states. He emphasized that the meeting was specifically convened to appeal to Miyetti Allah members to share their thoughts with open minds, bearing in mind that two wrongs do not make a right. He noted that the painful and tragic loss of lives and livelihoods resulting from the prolonged conflicts between farmers and herders in parts of Benue and Nasarawa states is one of the most heartbreaking realities facing the northern part of Nigeria. And 54 African countries are to converge in Abuja for the African Chiefs of Defense Staff Summit to be hosted in Nigeria from the 25th to 27th of August this year. The chairman of the Summit Planning Committee, Air Vice Marshal Precious Amadi, who discussed this at a news conference in Abuja, stated that the invited countries, including Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, had indicated interest to attend the summit. The summit, with a theme combating contemporary threats to regional peace and security in Africa, the role of strategic defense collaborations, will cover 4 thematic areas. Amadi explained that the premier platform was an avenue for the Chief of Defense Staff across Africa continent to engage in dialogue on shared defense and security mechanisms to enhance defense capabilities amongst African nations. The federal government has finally fulfilled its 3-decade-old promise of house allocations to members of the 1994 Super Eagles squad that won the Africa Cup of Nations in Tunisia. This is disclosed in a statement posted on the ministry's website. One of the beneficiaries, former striker Efani Koko, represented at the proof ceremony by his niece, Lisa Mbabogun, was presented with an allocation letter for a house in Abuja. The director and head of Department Public Bidding and Housing Development, Pemi Temitope, presented the letter on behalf of the Minister of Housing and Urban Development. Temitope described the move as part of the government's commitment to rewarding the patriotic service of the team, which brought honor to the nation 3 decades ago. It will be recalled that former President Muhammadu Buhari approved the implementation of the 1994 Housing Pledge in 2022, 28 years after it was first made. Housing units are being allocated to members of the team in various states, while some, such as Ikoku, are receiving theirs in Abuja. On out to sports, Nigeria Super Falcons have arrived Casablanca, Morocco for their final preparations ahead of the 2024 Women's African Cup of Nations. 22 players and team officials made the trip to Casablanca from Lisbon, Portugal. Bay FC striker Asisat Oshoala and China-based forward for Lashade Ijamilusi arrived Casablanca on Tuesday. Justin Madugu's side battled Portugal to a 0-0 draw in a friendly in Lisbon on Monday night. The 9-time African champions will be up against eternal rivals Black Queens of Ghana in another friendly on Sunday. The Super Falcons will begin their WAFCON 2024 campaign against Tunisia on Sunday, the 6th of next month at the Lokbi Zaouli Stadium in Casablanca. Subsequent group fixtures will see them face Botswana and Algeria as they look to maintain their proud record of always reaching at least the semi-finals since the competition's inception in 1998. And on the foreign scene, no fewer than 470 Japanese have been affected by the earthquakes which shook a remote island chain in southern Japan. The National Weather Agency urged residents to remain vigilant. The Japan Meteorological Agency said the earthquakes had been observed since early this morning around the Tokara Island chain south of Kyushu. No major damage has been reported from the series of quakes, with a strength of at least one slightly perceptible to people seated quietly indoors on Japan's 7-point seismic intensity scale. 7 of the 12 remote Tokara Islands are inhabited with around 700 residents in total. The islands, some of which have active volcanoes, are reached by a ferry that runs twice weekly in good weather. And that ends the major reports on OSBC television. It was edited by Adeleke. I am Oluwatoyin Yusuf. Good night.